I didn't want the mansion, not at first. I just wanted love, a future with someone who saw me, not as a stepping stone or a trophy, but as a partner. But that's not what I got. Instead, I gave up everything I had, my career, my dreams, and to build his empire. And one day I woke up to find myself wearing an apron, cleaning up after his messes, while another woman sat where I used to, smiling like she owned the place. My name is Elena Morris, and this is the story of how I gave up everything, and how I took it all back, one shattered illusion at a time. I was 26 when I met Julian Westfield. He walked into my law firm in New York wearing a charcoal gray suit, no tie, Rolex on one wrist, and confidence dripping from every step. I was the junior associate assigned to his estate planning. He was buying his third property, a sprawling estate in Connecticut, just to get away from the city when things got too loud, he said. I was professional, sharp, but he was charming and rich. And for some reason, he noticed me. "You've got fire," he told me once during a meeting. "That rare kind, the kind people try to put out because they're scared of how bright it can burn." I should have known then. Compliments from men like him always come with a price tag. We started dating quietly. He'd send me flowers to the office, make excuses to bump into me during client meetings. When I got promoted, he said, "Now I can really show you off." I laughed. I didn't realize he wasn't joking. Within a year, we were living together. By year 2, I had left my job, not because I wanted to, but because he said, "You don't need to work anymore, I've got us. You're too brilliant to be buried under other people's paperwork." He said he'd support me, that I could work on my novel, that lifelong dream I never made time for. At first, it felt like love, but soon it felt like something else. It started small. Julian would ask me to take care of a few things around the house. Just help the housekeeper with the scheduling. Make sure the chef has the updated meal plan. "Can you plan the dinner party this Friday?" Suddenly, I wasn't writing anymore. I was managing staff, organizing closets, rearranging furniture for events I didn't care about. I'd ask, "Can we hire a personal assistant?" And he'd say, "Why? You're so good at it, babe. You've got an eye for detail. You're perfect. Perfect." That word started to sting, because perfect didn't mean loved, it meant convenient. One afternoon, while overseeing yet another floral delivery for Julian's endless dinner parties, a woman showed up at the front gate. She was blonde, polished, in designer heels. She introduced herself as Alyssa Crane, Julian's old friend from college. "I used to date him," she said casually, sipping from her cold brew like it was nothing. "He always did like women who could be shaped into what he needed." She smiled. Not at me, through me. I hope he's changed. That night, when I asked Julian about her, he brushed it off. "She's just jealous, Elle. I chose you." But that night, I noticed for the first time that I was the only one cleaning up after the party. The staff had been let go months ago. "Budget cuts," he said. One morning, Julian tossed a to-do list on the kitchen counter like it was nothing. Groceries, dry cleaning, polishing silverware, coordinating landscapers. And at the bottom, "Make sure the guest suite is cleaned. Alyssa might be staying over next week." I stood there, frozen. "She's what?" He didn't even flinch. "She's flying in for some charity board meetings. It's no big deal. Don't overreact." I wasn't overreacting. I was waking up. And the next day I found myself, apron tied, hair pulled back, scrubbing a bathtub for a woman I barely knew. That's when it hit me. I had become the maid in my own life. But what Julian didn't realize was that I was taking notes. And if he thought I would stay small, he'd forgotten just how bright my fire could still burn. I started keeping receipts, not metaphorically, literally. Emails, screenshots, credit card charges, guest logs, voice memos, anything that showed Julian's slow transformation from supportive partner to someone who saw me as staff. One morning I found a text on his iPad. He'd left it unlocked. Alyssa, loved waking up in your shirt. Hope she didn't notice. Can't wait for next weekend. Julian, she's too busy organizing my sock drawer. Don't worry. My stomach twisted. It wasn't just betrayal, it was contempt. I wasn't just being replaced, I was being mocked. In my own home. That week I stopped asking him about his schedule. I stopped cooking dinner, stopped checking the mail, stopped folding his shirts just the way he liked. He noticed. "What's going on with you lately?" he asked one evening. I smiled. "I think I just realized I've been a little too perfect," he smirked. "Took you long enough." And that was all the confirmation I needed. He knew. He liked it that way. One night I dug out my old laptop. It was dusty, the battery barely holding charge. I opened my novel, 2 chapters from when I'd last seen it, frozen in time just like I had been. I started writing again, at first just at night, quietly when he was asleep. Then a few hours during the day while he was away at work, though I knew now that meant drinks, hotel rooms, and boardrooms filled with people who laughed when he joked about breaking strong women like horses. I started drafting more than a novel. I was writing myself back into existence. I hadn't seen Nora, my best friend from law school, in over a year. Julian said she was too intense, that she was always feeding your ambition. But I called her anyway. She met me at a cafe in Manhattan, arms open and eyes wide. "You look thinner," she said, scanning my face. "And not the good kind." I told her everything. The quitting, the house, the lists, the affair, the bathtub. She didn't gasp. She didn't say, "I told you so." She just said, "You ready to burn it down?" Nora offered me something I hadn't had in years. Options. She was now a partner at a growing firm. She could get me back in, no questions asked. "But I want to do this right," I said. "I don't want to run. I want to win." So we made a plan, a calculated, legal, airtight plan. I started documenting everything more seriously, getting advice from Nora on what courts consider financial and emotional manipulation. She warned me, "Men like Julian don't go down without trying to take everything with them." I didn't flinch. He'd already taken everything. All that was left was what I was going to take back. Julian came home late one night, reeking of whiskey and perfume. He tossed his keys at the counter, missed, and yelled, "God, Elena, what do I pay you for?" I turned slowly. "You don't pay me," he laughed. "Oh, that's right, you live off me, silly me." That night I didn't cry. I didn't scream, didn't throw a vase or slam a door. I poured myself a glass of wine, went upstairs and finished the final chapter of my novel. It was about a woman who burned her gilded cage to the ground and walked away without a single ash on her dress. He made me a maid in his mansion, but he forgot. I built the foundation he's standing on, and I was about to tear it out from under him. I wish I could say things got better. That one day I woke up and remembered who I used to be. Confident, respected, proud. But instead, I became what he wanted, invisible. Every day I dusted antiques I had no say in buying. I polished marble floors I once walked across in heels returning from court. I arranged dinner parties for guests who barely looked at me, guests who used to sit across from me on panels. Now they nodded at me like I was part of the scenery. They'd say, "How lucky you are, staying home and enjoying the luxury life." If only they knew. One evening we hosted some of Ethan's colleagues. I cooked everything myself, not that he gave me credit. He always said it came from catering. That night, one of the guests, a woman named Camilla, looked around and asked, "Who's the woman serving wine? I don't think I've seen her before." Ethan chuckled. "That's Rachel, my wife." Everyone laughed, like I was a joke, a relic, a servant, a trophy that had lost its shine. My cheeks burned. And when I looked at him, really looked at him, I saw it, that smug, satisfied look, like this was all going according to plan. I locked myself in Ethan's study that night. I sat at his massive oak desk, the one I wasn't allowed to touch. I opened the drawers, searching for something, anything, that would explain why the man I loved had turned into a stranger. That's when I found the safe, hidden behind a shelf. I'd only seen it once before when he bragged about keeping business private. He didn't know I remembered the combination. It was our wedding date. He was too arrogant to believe I'd dare open it. Inside were folders, files, contracts, and a letter. The letter was addressed to his lawyer. In it, he outlined a contingency plan. If we ever divorced, I would receive a modest sum and a non-disclosure agreement would silence me. He called me an unstable asset and referred to me as a financial burden turned utility staff. Utility staff. My hands trembled as I read those words again and again. He didn't just fall out of love. He had been preparing, planning, reducing me to nothing, in ink, while smiling across from me every day. That night, I remembered the day I gave up my legal career. I'd been offered a position at a firm I'd dreamed of working at since law school. Ethan had come home that day, tossed a glossy brochure on the table and said, "Look at this place in Napa. It's a dream estate. Let's move. Start a life where you don't need to work." I asked, "But what about my job offer?" He smiled, kissed my forehead, and said, "You'll have something better, freedom." He made it sound like a gift, but it was a cage. I knew then I couldn't stay, but I also knew I couldn't just leave. Ethan had made sure I was financially dependent. My name wasn't on most of the accounts. Even the house, despite what I thought, was in a trust controlled by his company. So I did the only thing I could. I played the game. For 3 more months, I acted like everything was fine. I folded his clothes, cooked his favorite meals, laughed at his tasteless jokes. Let him think I was too broken to fight back. But I was documenting everything. Emails, contracts, photos of bruises from where he'd grabbed my wrist too hard. Testimonies from the maid he'd fired when she got too friendly with me. I built a case, a quiet one. One evening I met someone unexpected, Nora. She was a financial advisor Ethan had recently hired. What he didn't know was, Nora and I had gone to law school together. I didn't let on that I knew her. I waited until she visited again. I slipped her a note during lunch. It said, "Meet me at the cafe on 5th tomorrow at noon. Do not tell Ethan." She came, and when I told her everything, she didn't blink. She simply said, "Let's take him down properly." Over the next few weeks, Nora helped me set up accounts in my name. We discreetly moved small amounts, gathered evidence. She helped me contact my old firm. They still remembered me, still respected me, and they were more than willing to give me space to rejoin once I was safe. Around this time, I also discovered something else. Ethan had been having an affair with one of the nannies from a family party we'd hosted 2 years ago. She disappeared shortly after. He claimed she'd moved back to her home country, but that wasn't true. She lived in a condo in the city, a condo Ethan paid for, registered under a shell company, but with billing to one of his cards. They had a child, a little boy. He was 2 and he looked just like Ethan. The night I confronted him, I didn't scream, didn't throw things. I simply walked into his study and placed a copy of the child's birth certificate on the desk. Ethan froze. What is this?" I said. "This is your son. From the woman you moved into the city while turning me into your housekeeper." He stared at me speechless, and I said one more thing. "Enjoy raising him, because you're about to lose everything else." But mine was calculated, strategic, and quiet. He never saw it coming. And in the final part of this story, you'll see just how much one woman can reclaim when she remembers her worth. The morning I left, the sky was heavy with rain. It felt poetic, like even the heavens were washing away the last of what I had endured. I didn't pack a suitcase. Everything in that house felt tainted. All I took was my laptop, a folder of documents, and the wedding ring I planned to drop on the front steps. I left him a note, 3 words. "Check your email." Nora and I had prepared it carefully, timed for when Ethan would be in a board meeting. The email was sent to every partner in his firm, to every investor, to every client he prided himself on personally managing. It included scanned files, legal memos, recordings, proof of fraud, of manipulation, of workplace misconduct, and of course, a copy of the paternity test showing that he had fathered a child while married to me and used company funds to support them. There was no denying it. No PR spin could fix what was in that email. I returned to the city I had once belonged to. The same skyline that used to greet me on long workdays now felt like a symbol of my survival. My old firm had reserved an office for me. The plaque on the door said, "Rachel Bennett, Special Counsel." I touched it softly the first day I walked in. I wasn't the woman who left that office years ago, filled with hope, love, and dreams of a mansion life. I was sharper now, tougher, and no longer afraid to speak. Ethan's downfall was swift. The board suspended him. Clients pulled out. The media caught wind of the scandal. One article read, "Power brokers double life, from estate to disgrace." His accounts were frozen pending investigation. The trust where the house was held, it was dismantled. Because Nora, clever as ever, had found a clause that invalidated the agreement if Ethan was guilty of misconduct. And he was. Suddenly, the mansion that I'd been reduced to cleaning was no longer his to lord over. I didn't want it. But it felt good knowing he couldn't keep it either. Weeks later, he called me. From a number I didn't recognize. I didn't answer the first few times, but eventually, I picked up. His voice was different, hollow. "Rachel, you ruined me." I didn't scream. I didn't gloat. I simply replied, "No, you ruined yourself. I just stopped cleaning up the mess." He was silent for a long moment, and then he asked something I never expected. "Do you ever miss us?" I smiled bitterly. I miss who I thought you were, but he never really existed, did he? After that call, I felt lighter. It wasn't forgiveness, it was freedom. Sometimes people think closure is a grand emotional showdown. Tears, apologies, maybe some closure music playing in the background. But real closure? It's peace. It's waking up one morning and realizing you don't think about them first thing anymore. It's hearing their name and not feeling your stomach twist. It's building a life where they're just a chapter, not the whole story. A year later, I started a legal initiative focused on women who left powerful men and needed help rebuilding. I named it Rise Again. Our motto? You are not what they left behind. You are what you chose to become. And every time I saw someone walk into that office, scared, uncertain, just like I was, I reminded them, you can lose everything and still find yourself again. If you're listening to this and you've ever felt like you disappeared, like someone dimmed your light until you forgot you ever had one, I want you to know it's still there, buried maybe, but waiting. They may have called you a burden, a maid, a shadow, but you are none of those things. You are the storm they never saw coming. And when you rise quietly, fiercely, fully, they will remember you, not because you screamed, but because you survived. Sometimes the revenge isn't in what you take back. It's in what you rebuild without them.